What's up? Or I should say good morning because it's about 4:30 here but in the morning. But back at you again with yet another video about Michael Jai White. This one's viewer requested. I want to say thank you and shout outs to Indy Philip Connor. Thank you for requesting this or asking me to do this video. It's my pleasure. And to all those of you out there watching, feel free, please, because I love doing this. But anyway, he wanted me to do a reaction video on Michael Jai White. It's on vladtv, of course, because vladtv is the only one that probably will have him and not really challenge him so much. Even though in this video he does push back a little bit, and I will give Vlad credit. But he wanted me to do a video about, he's talking bad about Bruce. Well, not bad. This is his opinion. You have to understand. And when I hear and watch things like these, I always try to be objective with the way I look at them and the way I analyze them. Um, so let's just get into it. So he talks about how Vlad in the beginning brings up how, about Bruce Lee and how he was like, and he kind of slips it in there like, he was an actor and whatever. Because he asked him, he's like, could you beat in a real fight? Who did you think would win, Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee? And it's just funny because all throughout the whole video, if you watch it, and I'll leave it down below and you can check it out for yourself, he's just very inconsistent, and there's just some cognitive dissonance there. He decides to choose Jackie Chan as the winner because of size. He's brought up size before in his arguments, and the thing with size, you have to understand, if size really mattered when it came to fighting, don't you think the biggest person would be the unbeatable? You know what I mean? There's some big guys in the UFC that have been put down. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't make any sense. Size doesn't always matter. But this is just how inconsistent Michael Jai White is, and it also shows how full of himself he is and how much he really doesn't know about fighting, like real fighting. Do you know what I mean? He thinks he knows. He's on the video. He's got his UFC garb on, a hat. He's really good at playing a role. I just think it's funny that we have somebody, and Vlad, I get it. Vlad's main thing is music, the entertainment industry. That's why he has an entertainer and action star. He's interviewing him, which I think, oh, the irony. You know what I mean? Here's the guy who's an action star talking about fighting like he really knows what real fighting is. How are you going to sit there and say that, Bruce Lee he was just an actor? And what do you think? So what does that make you? A real fighter? You're a fighter now? Because you did some action movies and because, maybe you did some sparring with some pro fighters. There is a difference, a pro fighter, someone in the ring, a real fighter, someone who can handle themselves outside the ring. There's a clear difference. One thing he did say, which I will agree with, he said that, in the fight, because he gave the fight to Jackie Chan, he said because Jackie Chan's bigger, which is bullshit, because if you look in Bruce Lee's movies, just about everybody was bigger than Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was 5'7". He says, they say that, they throw out that Bruce Lee was 5'8". He wasn't 5'8". I think his wife Linda was about 5'6", and he's got about an inch on her. So he's 5'7". The guy was 5'7". When I was growing up and I watched documentaries, they always said that Bruce Lee was about 5'7". He was never 5'8". He's not 5'8". Even in his prime, he was 5'8". He's 5'7". Jackie Chan is a little bit bigger. I used to work in Hollywood. I met a guy who worked the premiere of Shanghai Noon. I think that's what it was, with Owen Wilson. I didn't see the movie. I'm not an Owen Wilson fan. Anyway, the guy I talked to, I asked him, like, how big is Jackie Chan? How tall is he? Because this guy in particular was 6'1". And I'm like, how tall is he? I'm like, he said he was about 5'10", between 5'10" and 5'11". And this was back then. So let's say for today, like, because you lose an inch over time, you lose height over time. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, he's 5'9". Okay, a little bit taller than Bruce Lee. But here's the thing: Jackie Chan has came out and said himself he wouldn't want to mix it up in a fight, in a real fight, because he really knew Bruce Lee. He knew the guy, and he worked with him. He talked about how he's on the movie set with him and how he had to keep his eyes open because Bruce Lee was that fast. He talked about how nobody moves that fast. You know what I mean? Like, that's like Ali level. That's almost like to see how fast Bruce Lee moved is almost like watching a cartoon because no one moves that fast. And Bruce Lee's whole thing was speed, coupled with power. Do you know what I mean? So you wouldn't want to mix it up with somebody who was not only super fast to where he was a blur, but incredibly powerful. He had the power behind his speed to back it up. You know, he did say Jackie Chan can take, you know, he's super durable. Well, of course Jackie Chan is durable. Jackie Chan started off, he started off as a stuntman, for those of you who didn't know. And of course he's earned that title, especially he's broken all of his bones, you know, not once but twice. So yeah, I would say he's super. I mean, it doesn't take rocket science to figure out that Jackie Chan is a durable guy. You know, on one side, in my opinion, you have Bruce Lee, somebody who can dish it out, and then on the other side, you have a guy like Jackie Chan who can he can take punishment. But would someone like Jackie Chan want to take a beating from Bruce Lee? Probably not. It would be an interesting fight. I think Jackie Chan would make Bruce Lee work for it. I think it would be a fight where Jackie Chan would be doing a lot of running. He's not going to stay there, because if you ever watch Bruce Lee movies, Bruce Lee, he's stationary and he fights, and his opponents, they come to him. And Jackie Chan, he hits and then he runs. He hits, he runs, you know. So I think it would be, that's how the fight would go down. But I think ultimately Bruce Lee would just, because Bruce Lee's got this longevity, he's got the stamina for it. That was a big part of his big staple of his workouts. Creating endurance and stamina so you can last long or last little, you know. I would personally have to give it to Bruce Lee. This is Michael Jai White's opinion, and I think he gets his opinion mixed up with the facts. Do you know what I mean? It's one thing to give your opinion on something. It's another thing to, if you're going to speak intellectually on something, you better know, your T's better be crossed, your I's better be dotted. Do you know what I mean? So it's a mixture. I think for him, he hangs around these guys that, you know, compete in the ring, and then he thinks all of a sudden he's one of the boys and he knows everything about fighting, and he really doesn't. He doesn't know the difference between pro fighting, which is in-ring fighting, and real fighting, because he brings up, there's this guy, Benny the Jet Urquidez, and he went against Jackie Chan in the movie, I think it was Wheels on Meals. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you've never seen the movie, just punch up Jackie Chan versus Benny the Jet Urquidez. I mean, incredible fight scene. You know, I love Jackie Chan movies, you know, but it's just been a while. But it's an incredible fight scene, and it's just, you know, it's just hand to hand, you know, one on one, mano a mano, and they're just going at it. But it's an incredible fight scene. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But he talks about Benny the Jet Urquidez could walk through Bruce Lee. He could beat Bruce Lee, and he calls Benny the Jet Urquidez a real fighter. So I looked up Benny the Jet Urquidez, and this guy, he's a competition, non-contact sport fighter. So, you know, it just goes to show just how much Michael Jai White doesn't know. Do you know what I mean? And this is just his opinion, and you need to take whatever he says, in my opinion, with a grain of salt when it comes to Bruce Lee or any fighting, because he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. You know, because he contradicts himself throughout this whole video. You know, going back to my point, he says Benny the Jet Urquidez is a real fighter. No, he's not. He's not a real fighter. How are you going to say that Bruce Lee wasn't a real fighter and couldn't fight and was just an actor, but you're going to say this other guy? That seems pretty biased to me. Do you know what I mean? Benny the Jet Urquidez, because he said he's met Benny the Jet Urquidez. You know, he said, oh, he was a real fighter. Well, most of his fights in the ring, they were non-contact. And then all the other stuff he did was in movies. Do you know what I mean? Do you see what I'm talking about? But this is who we're dealing with. So like I said, for me, personally, I just take what he says with a grain of salt. That's his opinion. He thinks, you know, he wants to say what he says about Bruce Lee, but it's obvious to anybody with a sound mind that the facts are different. Do you know what I mean? But I think I'm going to leave it there. With that being said, I hope that answered your question, my dude. I hope that satisfied you. And I want to thank you again for recommending that. It's always a pleasure. And I think I'm going to head out of here because it's almost 5 o'clock, and yeah, I get some rest. But until next time, y'all know what to do down below. And until next time, deuces.